What is up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for episode 103 of the Game Cast. I am one of your hosts, Kenny, and with me is Tess.
Hey, everybody.
And we are back after a little bit of a vacation. Um, so many things happened in between last podcast and this podcast. And so we need a little bit of a break. Um, some of it I'm still suffering from, that being allergies. I don't know if this is like, I can't say this is the worst allergy season we've had, but it's not a good one. I don't know if there is a good one.
No.
But it's been rough having to which is crazy because we're still wearing masks and we're still trying to, not as much as before, but we're still trying to be social distant. And it's interesting because the people who don't wear masks, who don't care, who are like whatever, as soon as you cough twice, they're like oh my god, he's got the thing. And it's like, I thought we was cool though. I thought we were good. No, keep that same energy. You was good with no mask. You didn't care. You was all in my bubble. I don't know you or whatever. And as soon as I, drop my mask to get some popcorn or whatever the case may be at the theater, and I cough twice, now it's a problem. Like, but you were good though. You were all right. But yeah, so it's been a little rough, and so we decided to take a few days or weeks off actually. But we are back with a dope show. We have a lot to talk about today. One of which is what we've been up to these past few weeks. And for me, I've been in the theater, like I was saying. I saw the Super Mario Brothers film, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Me and my brother saw Evil Dead Rise, which is really good. Has actually one of the, I want to say, best title screens I've seen in a long time, especially for a horror film.
Okay.
Usually those segments are, I know with horror, they usually are really good with kind of foreshadowing what's to come. And Evil Dead Rise was like genius with how they did it. It's really dope. I don't want to spoil it because I think people should see it, but it's a really cool title screen pop that happens that I thought was really dope. Very good film, especially if you're an Evil Dead fan. It's loud though. If you go to the theater, be mindful of that. They have, at least the theater we went to, the sound was cranked all the way up, and it didn't need to be. Didn't not to be scary. It didn't. It was a little rough on the ears. I don't know if I'm getting old or whatever, but I was like, geez. And I saw Mario. Yeah, Mario was dope. We took the family to see Mario. We rented a theater, and a bunch of us went, and that was really cool. Mario is a cool film. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. And the last film I saw just yesterday is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Very good. Very good. It still has, if you've seen the second and third, the first and second movie, it still has scenes that are, they want you to be emotionally invested, but they haven't earned that. They still have those with some of these characters, but I want to say this is the most invested you'll be in these films is in the third one, because they do a lot of pulling the heartstrings, especially with Rocket. I'm not going to spoil anything, but Rocket has a big story arc in terms of revealing what happened in his past and stuff like that, and why he's the way he is today, and pretty solid. I think that Drax gets the short end of the stick, unfortunately. It's comical though. Is he, all of his interactions with the other characters are very comical, and so that kind of saves it. There's some things that happen in the film where I feel like the touching moments for him in certain aspects don't really work because he's been the brunt of the joke for however long that it's not. You know what I mean? It doesn't really. You have to give him more than just one scene, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's Drax. It's like, nah, fam, that's not how that works. But they did really good. They also did good with writing in terms of Gamora and Peter Quill and how their relationship is, because after um, Endgame, she comes back to life, and she has no, well, she doesn't come back to life. It's a future or past
Gamora,
version of her, right?
Gamora.
And they didn't skimp over that. Like they actually deal with that in a logical way, in a realistic way, and so she isn't. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but they did a very good job with those characters in terms of putting that together and concluding the trilogy. I think they did a solid job, and it's really funny. I think you should go check it out. The action sequences are really dope, and I think that although James Gunn is done with the films, at least for now, because obviously he's working over on DC side of things,
DC.
Warner Brothers. I'm pretty sure we're going to see these characters again at some point, just not in the foreseeable future. I don't even think this phase. Maybe in the Avengers collaborative film later, but right now they're pretty much done. So they did a good job. Did a solid,
Good.
solid job. What about you? What have you been up to lately?
Nothing. Not true. Lots. Nothing really great. Nothing really fun and interesting. But
yeah, that's life. Yep.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've been lifing. I definitely have been lifing. And when I'm trying to escape from lifing, I'm just. In fact, I was about to say I'm torturing myself, but I'm not. I am.
Word.
Because I have been going back, and you know how much I love Inuyasha, so it
Yes.
kind of gives me that nostalgia. So if I'm not in a good mood or something, I just put it on. But yeah, I just been
Solid.
I've yeah just been going back, and I've been watching all of the movies and realizing how stupid the show is, and leaning full into it, because it's not at that stupid. It's still, at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says, still at the end of the day, from somebody who used to write stuff that was really comical, Inuyasha was actually quite dark for the
Yes.
material that Rumiko had given us before. And so dark and twisted. It's just mad twisted. It really is. It's
Yeah.
really convoluted. It's damn soap opera. And with some real messed up stuff, some real messed up stuff. And so I just like to sit there and, watch TV and just yell at the screen while I'm by myself with my dog, because she's blind and she can't go nowhere. So I just put her on, and she's next to her sesshomaru pillow, because anyway. And that's it. So that's literally what I've been doing, and in my mind, writing live actions.
A live action for this show or like for all
Yes,
shows?
because if they could do Sandman, they can do this one.
Interesting. Interesting. So if this Inuyasha is like a comfort show for you, then
It's definitely a comfort show. Yeah.
okay. I've been doing that a little bit with King of the Hill recently.
That's a silly show.
That show is so fun, and like it's because like it's hard to do comedy that it stands the test of time. Like you can,
Mm-hmm.
or not in the sense of that, because there are some jokes in there that won't fly today. But I think more so in you can see the joke multiple times
Mm-hmm.
and it's still funny to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a scene, right? I just watched this episode recently. I was watching on Hulu, and granted, let me let everybody know it's about suicide, but suicide in and of itself isn't funny. So I just
Right.
want to disclaimer.
Yes.
But Bill, his wife left him,
Mm-hmm.
Lorraine or whatever, and it's Christmas time. He's really sad, and he's thinking about committing suicide. And so Hank and the rest of the guys are like, "You're not going to do this. We're not going to let you do this." But the way
Mm-hmm.
they go about it is just so wrong, and it's one of those things where like they're charming and lovable in a very broken way, and so you immediately understand that what they're saying is wrong, but it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because they fully believe that this is the right thing to do. So like Peggy is like, well, Bill should see a psychiatrist, and then um Hank is like, uh he's not crazy, he's just suicidal. Like, wait, that's not that's yes, you would see someone for that too. Like that's not there's I so like, and if you watch King of the Hill, you know that
Yes.
he's definitely he's definitely who he is. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Or Dale, there's another scene where Dale is with Bill because they all take turns sitting with him,
Mm-hmm.
and Bill's like, I'm gonna get up and because he's trying to like run away and kill himself in
Mm-hmm.
the most non-threatening ways. Like he tries to close his head in like a dresser drawer. Like it's just not gonna happen, right?
Not gonna
But
work.
they take that seriously, and so he's sitting on the couch and Dale's watching him, telling him not to move, and he gets up to go to the bathroom, and he's like no, sit back down. And they pan over to Dale, and he has a shotgun, and he's like, you're not getting up on my watch. And he like racks the gun, and Bill's like stands, sits at attention, and I'm like, how would that work if he's trying to kill himself?
Exactly.
You know
Like,
what I'm saying? Like it's very like odd. in obscure ways of thinking that is like watching it, it's hilarious. It's
It
just
is.
really, really
Yeah.
hilarious. And again, I'm not saying that suicide's funny.
No.
I believe at the end of the episode they even talk about like calling the suicide hotline number if you're
Hmm.
feeling away. But in the midst of the episode, because these characters are silly and fictional, that
Yeah.
it's funny. You know what I'm saying? But that's been my go-to, that and obviously A Different World, because I love that show. But those have been
Yeah.
my go-to as of late when things are a bit rough, because
Yeah.
it's fun and it's fond memories of the of
Hmm.
silly TV shows.
Yeah.
Um,
Do that a lot.
but also you got to watch you said recently you watched Top Gun. You got to see the second film.
I did. I watched it. I don't remember how many days ago. One of these, like this weekend or something. I don't know. And so, just right off the bat, everybody, I liked the movie. I'm not sitting here saying I didn't like it. In fact, a lot of times when I criticize things, I do like them. I did not like Rings of Power. Okay, I criticize that because that's what it deserved. Okay, but I'm
Right, right.
I'm literally a Virgo and honestly a high functioning autistic. So I criticize things because that's what I do. And so yeah, I watched this movie and I was like, "Oh, this is fun." And I thought that the shots were amazing. The cinematography was just great. The photography was great. It was
Yeah,
just a lot of nice, like really good looking, clean looking, and realistic movements. Like the shots that were taken in the plane, and not
right,
in the plane, in the planes, plural,
right.
were amazing. Okay, and I enjoyed all of the action. It was a lot of fun. Now, that took about 17 hours to get to, though, because I swear, I'm like, what is happening in this movie for the first 4.5 hours? And again, it's not that it's bad, it's not at all, but I think that I was just expecting this movie to be like, just, I don't want to say over the top, gung ho action, this, that, and the other. But I just think that I kept hearing so many people say, "Oh my god, this is the best movie and I love this movie and this is my favorite movie and this is the
Right.
best movie I've seen all year." The way people were talking was like, I mean, even people going so far as being like, "I don't like Tom Cruise and I hate Scientology, but damn, this is a good movie." People saying that. And so I'm sitting here like, "Okay, I guess I'm
Right.
missing out." I mean, I just I don't go to the theater, so I can't do sound like that. So no, I was never going to do that. But it came on Prime, and I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, I'll pick it up at some point when I have time. I like never have time anymore.
Right.
And so I start watching it, and I'm like, literally an hour goes by. My friend calls me, and I was like, I just feel like maybe I fell asleep and I missed the exciting
Wait,
parts. I
he was like, maybe I did.
maybe I fell asleep because I'm just wondering, like, what is happening? What's happening in this movie that's making this movie so amazing? Because a whole hour and a half has gone by and nothing's happened.
Right.
And then obviously it's not even that it gets better. It's just that the plot is basic and it's simple and whatever. What makes the movie are the technical aspects. The fact that they put as much effort as they did into filming, the amount of time it took them to film these shots, and like it wasn't even like, oh hey, let's do this shot, look at it and then go fix it. No, like they put fucking GoPros on planes and said, bye, go fly around for 2 hours and come back when you're out of fuel. No, not come back when you're out of fuel. Come back when the batteries on the cameras die. That's how they shot this. I was like, wait, what?
It
Just
looked
put some
amazing. Like they did
some
an awesome
iPhones
job.
and some ring lights on these planes. Go fly them and come back and show me what you got.
I'm mad at that.
Oh, and by the way, I know you guys are just, measly actors, but you're going to fly planes.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom Cruise is notorious for wanting to do his own stunts.
Oh, he is. He's
The Mission
ridiculous.
Impossible movies are great because of it.
Hmm.
Shout out to
Hmm.
him and every like Jackie Chan and all those people who can do that, because I
Yeah.
could
No.
not do that. I'm
Oh,
not
wow.
I'm
No.
not. Yeah, I remember
That was something I
one.
wanted. when I was a
Oh,
kid.
you wanted to do that to do the
Oh my
stunts?
god, when I was oh my god, because I swore to God, I swore once I got to college, literally once I got to college, I was like, "Oh, I'm taking taekwondo and I am going to be like." I swore I took taekwondo and kung fu class like 2 times, and I couldn't afford those classes. I couldn't afford to pay for the Siegel Center, but I was like,
Facts.
I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. I can't even touch my toes. Come on, man. I didn't learn anything. I never went anywhere. I literally did not do anything and never became an actor, and nothing good ever happened for me, and boom. However, I do be watching Samurai Rider because she awesome. Shout out.
Facts, facts. I mean, it's always time. I
No, there's
forget
not.
what they said.
You do know I have arthritis in my neck. Have you seen me crack my neck while we're sitting here? Like
Yes.
it's about 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes, you will see me do a strange movement where I look like I am a turtle.
Well, no, they say like they say what was it? Nah, not Steven Spielberg. Or was it Steven Spielberg? It was a couple of people who like their first big break was like right before they turned 40 or something like that. And then
No.
there was like a cascade of whatever after all the hard work they've done. And I'm like, oh, there's still time. There's
There's
definitely
still
still time.
time. Oh, it's like
Physically, I don't know. But then again, there's stunt doubles. You feel me? What I was talking about was doing your own stunts in a sense of like jumping out of a moving plane or you know, I don't know,
yeah.
being hooked up to the side of a bus and yeah, like
Hmm.
he's gotten hurt also. Him and Jackie Chan and all the people who
I
do their
know.
own stunts, broken bones for days. Like I can't. I'm good.
I
I'm
had,
good. I'm
I
afraid of
had a
heights too.
I
Nope.
just had the worst concussion ever. Like I can't do any. I can barely walk in heels. I've been doing it because I'm getting paid, but like I'm so dizzy at the end of the day.
Wait, they have you in heels?
I mean, I'm supposed to look professional. It's so
There's
like I put them
there's
on.
no you can't
I,
have any other shoe but heels.
I
Like
wear them for about 3 hours, and most of the time I'm sitting, and then today I wore my shoes. I was wearing heels, and then my prospects, they actually said to me, "You don't have to wear those next time." Because I was saying, because they were like, "This building is really big, and this is a lot of walking." I was like, "Yeah, I know it is," and I'm wearing these, and they're like, "You need to get better shoes." And I said, I was like, "I have them there at their
mm,
desk, but when I've got clients," and they said to me, they're like, "Yeah, next time we come, you don't have to wear those for us."
well, that's good. That's good.
And I was like,
Can't
"Yeah,
have you
but
like spilling over. And
it
they
are."
because they know you have a concussion, so it's like that
I
would be
know.
kind of rough.
I just
Just
forced
tumble
myself
down.
through it. I literally actually did. I already tumbled. But
Oh
it was
no.
actually really funny though, and it was very safe because I was bending
Mm,
over because I found somebody's keys. I was bending over near it was it's a coffee table, and there's four big like comfortable plush leather chairs around it, and I bent down to pick up someone's keys that I found on like at the bottom of the coffee
mm.
table, and literally just tipped over. I just like a bowling pin, literally like a bowling pin, and I fell into the chair, and I laughed, and the concierge is looking at me like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I am because I fell in the chair."
That's great. Like slow motion fall. Yeah,
It was
that's
it
awesome.
was like I was like, "Ah!" Just anyway,
Ah,
but yeah, so there is that. There is that.
awesome. We have been and for people who are listening, we are, talking about our week and whatnot. Uh it's mainly to catch everyone up and to
Yeah.
have a bit of a conversation in the sense of like what not to say that I haven't been talking to anyone because I have, but like to be like, you know what? We haven't got to speak in a while.
I know.
We've been busy going left and right and haven't had a chance to catch up. So it's like we're doing this on speed, kind of going through this really quickly about things that's happened. So like me talking about her wearing heels is not necessarily part of the show, but it's part of the show.
It's part of the show
It
now, y'all.
works. You feel me? It works. Just go with it. But yeah, we have some topics to talk about. One of them is the fact that the Super Mario Brothers film, which I thought was going to do well regardless because it's Super Mario, and Illumination
Hmm.
did a solid job of making a good Mario film.
Mhm.
which the bar is set extremely low. If you saw the
Yeah,
original Mario film,
totally low.
so it's not, whatever. But with the promotion that they've been doing and all the just the hype for this film, I knew it was going to do well. I
Mhm.
had a inkling that it would do well. I didn't think that it would do as well as it's currently doing.
Yeah.
It's still doing well. Um, for one, it's actually broke over 500,000.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm sorry, 500 million domestically, not thousand. Thousand would be horrible. 500 million domestically. So in the United States, which is really dope. I think there's only four other films to do that
Mhm.
currently in the recent years. So like you have Avatar: The Way of Water, Top Gun 2, which we were just talking about,
Mhm.
Spider-Man: No Way Home, and then this film. Um, that said, outside of the US, internationally, it has crossed $1 billion.
Mhm.
So there you go. I want to say it is the second highest grossing animated film of all time, which is
Amazing.
bananas.
Yeah.
And at the same time, not because it's Mario. Like
It's
Mario is one of
Mario.
the most known icons on the planet. I think
Yeah.
yeah, like even if you've never played a video game before, I think you kind of almost sort of know who Mario is. Like you
Yeah.
could go back and be like, yeah, we used to talk, you know what I'm saying? I bumped into him that
Mhm.
one time. That's how familiar it seems. Like you ran into Mario. Yeah, that's what it's like. And so I didn't expect it to be that well, but or to do that well in the theaters, mainly because it's an animated film. And not to saying that animated films don't do well, but it's like they usually hit a certain bar and then
Mhm.
they stop unless they're like Pixar, you know, uh, Disney's machine is behind it and it goes really, and that's not to say they don't do well in the sense of like DreamWorks has made a lot of their films. Like I think the, like for instance, the animation studio that Disney bought recently that did all the what is it, the End of the World or dinosaur films? I forgot the name of it.
Oh, Land Before
Um,
Times?
Not those. There's way too many of those. Good grief! But
It's like
no, the
26.
Ice
Oh,
Age films. I believe collectively they're well over 1 billion. But that's like
mm,
collectively. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and there's like
Whereas
10 of
not it's
them.
just like one film. Usually it's the Disney people that kind of
Mhm.
control that.
Mhm.
And so the fact that Illumination was able to do that with Mario is really big. And I think Illumination and Universal, this is their biggest partnership um, in terms of gross. So like all these different records are flying by, and it's still going. Like it's not. I know that Guardians came out, so that's gonna dethrone it a lot. But for the
Mhm.
most part, people are still going to see the film, and that's
Yeah.
not even considering how much it's gonna make when it comes out on DVD or well digital because people do mostly digital now.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're definitely gonna get a sequel. That would be I couldn't fathom it not getting a sequel.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a good film. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Take your kids. It's not deep in terms of plot. It's paper thin and it goes
Mhm.
by really quickly. Like it's really fast, fast paced. But it's a fun film that I think does justice to the Mario franchise. Like they
Mhm.
didn't. You could tell that they were fans when they were creating this movie and they had a lot of fun making it, and so it's a lot of fun watching, if
Mm.
that makes sense. Also, Chris Pratt isn't bad as Mario. He sounds really
Oh.
good. They actually had the original Mario, or one of the original Mario voice actors, uh, voice Mario for a commercial that they made to sell their plumbing business or whatever. And it was funny because in the film they actually make fun of the voice. They're like, he doesn't sound Italian because he
Mhm.
doesn't. He really doesn't, right? And but Chris Pratt's character actually sounds a little bit closer to what I would think Mario would sound like,
Mhm.
and he does a good job. Like I wasn't upset at all about his
Cool.
portrayal of Mario. So definitely go
Like
check that out.
all the people who were like ready to pitchfork and protest.
Right. Right, because they were like, it's that there's no way he would, it's Chris Pratt can't do the voice, and then they're like, that doesn't even sound like Mario. And because I said this previously on another podcast that I didn't want him to try to sound like Mario
Yeah.
because I felt like he wouldn't do it justice. So
Yeah.
we would be upset that he didn't sound like Mario. He had to do his own thing,
Yeah.
and his own thing worked. His own thing
Okay.
worked pretty
Yeah.
well,
Good for him.
Um, and visually it's great. It's bright and cheerful
Mhm.
and funny. There's the song and you can actually Google the song, um Jack Black's song for Peach. Peaches is great. It's silly and it's great. You have to go Google that. Not right now, but after the show,
Not right
go
now.
Google that. Yeah, definitely
Okay.
go Google that. But yeah, I didn't expect it. I really didn't. Um, and I'm happy that it worked out. We have a few more. Hopefully, this means that people are going to be investing a little bit more into good video game films, not just a film that's like has the video game name and we're just like
Hmm.
whatever, but like we want to make a good film and then we want to put the video game stuff on top of it and be true to the source material in a fashion, but also
Yeah.
make our own thing. And that's
Yeah.
where I think the mirror comes in. Same thing with Sonic, the two previous Sonic films. Awesome job because yeah, you can tell they were fans. You can tell.
Hmm.
So definitely pleased with that. The second thing we want to talk about is the current writer strike that's going on. If you remember, what was it 2007 was the last one?
Was that
I
was that
think
the last one?
I think that was the
You
last
think there wasn't
one,
one
and
a
that's
couple years ago?
I don't think that was as big as this one though.
Okay.
Like
It
this
was
is like this
temporary.
was back when yeah, this was back when like Lost was like in the middle of like they had like I think 4 or 5 seasons done, and then like the last two they're like, yeah, we ain't writing it because of the writer's strike.
Yeah.
Um,
And that was
and
when
there's a
like Grey's
lot.
Anatomy went out.
Right. That was yep, Grey's Anatomy, and there was just a bunch of shows across the board that were hindered. But it wasn't necessarily like a. I get it as a consumer. You're like, I want to see these
Hmm.
shows. Give them to me. But it was a good thing that they stopped production and everything because you want everyone to be paid equally. So I pulled some quotes from the New York Times. Shout out to John, I think Coblin and Nicole Sperling. I believe that's how you say their name. I could be
Okay.
wrong. My bad. But they were talking about how currently a lot of things are messed up for writers because of well, just genuinely they're messed up anyways.
Hmm.
Like just off top, just
Yeah.
bad in Hollywood when it comes to writers. But then also because of streaming services. For
Hmm.
instance, Netflix has thrown a monkey wrench into the works of how they get residual income. So a couple of things. I pulled some quotes from their article. Um, and they were saying that the writers who are represented by affiliated branches of the Writers Guild of America have said that streaming era has eroded their working conditions and stagnated their wages
Mm.
despite the explosion of television production in the recent years, for much of which Netflix has been responsible. Now that part I get it because Netflix is the biggest streaming platform, you know. So yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
but it's all over the place. Granted,
Wow.
they're like, Netflix kind of started it, so people are kind of mirroring what Netflix was doing. But the what happened was the WGA was negotiating with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, um, which kind of mitigates this stuff between the Hollywood studios and whatnot, including all the
Hmm.
streaming platforms. And the talks broke down. Things didn't work out. They didn't get what they wanted or needed, and the writers went on strike on May 2nd.
Mm.
So right now there's no like all your favorite shows, Abbott Elementary. Granted, they just finished their second season. They're not writing right now. The show Severance. Me and my wife were just talking about that because we were like,
Hmm.
shouldn't the second season be coming about? They stopped production on that. They
Hmm.
stopped production on a bunch of different shows from different networks because of they're not being paid a lot. What's
Yeah.
interesting about this though was residual pay. So typically like writers might not get paid up front a whole lot, but some of that is made up through the residuals that comes when show gets syndicated or stuff like that. Whereas Netflix and other streamers, they don't really do that because they keep it on the platform. So one of the writers' complaints is how their residual pay, which is a type of royalty, has been distributed or disrupted by streaming. Years ago, writers for network television shows could get residual payments every time a show was licensed and went
Hmm.
somewhere else, syndication, DVD sales, that sort of thing. But streaming services like Netflix, they don't license their content. You don't see Stranger Things on anything but Netflix.
Sound like
So
it.
any money that could be accrued from that is just not there, right? Um, and Netflix was saying that they were trying to do residual stuff in terms of shows being on the platform for a long period of time. So like if we have your show on here for however long, we'll give you residuals based on how many people watch. But that's a I you can imagine how murky that might be, or like
Yes,
how
that's
weird, especially when stuff gets canceled,
yeah,
like after 2 seasons and like it's like we're done. You
yeah.
can kind of see a disruption of pay there, right? And so um a lot of the streaming money just goes to the streaming company, not to the
Hmm.
writers, right?
Right. That's
Then
just
there's
crazy.
also the idea, yeah, it's wild, like because and what it is though is like people see that and they go, you know what, maybe we don't have to pay certain things either because there's no, it's not like it's kind of like the egg and the chicken type of thing where like
Yeah.
typically we have this thing going on, but because streaming is a new beast, we don't have anything set in place. So this is why we can't really give you the money that we normally would have. But on top of that, we also aren't paying you more upfront to kind of offset that. Because why would we? We're paying what we normally would pay for a television show. You feel me? And so
It's
it's
just
like
crazy.
it's a
You
way to
have the
kind of get
advantage
around.
of doing your work. Like I
Yeah.
understand that I can understand, for example, if I wrote myself a book, if I went and wrote a book right now, nobody's paying me to write it, like because I didn't work with anybody. Okay. So I just wrote a
Right.
book, and then I went to Penguin and I said, "Hey Penguin, I've written this great book, or I think it's great, whatever." They read it, they like it, whatever. They say we're going to pay you $500,000 because this is a bestseller, and then they publish it, and then boom, and Penguin makes millions of dollars, and they paid me whatever, blah blah.
Right.
I understand that I didn't get paid before the book was written. I get that part, but what I kind of don't understand is when Netflix or whoever hires a bunch of writers to work on a show, to work on something for them, and they're literally not getting paid until a later date. Like I think I'm having a hard time understanding.
Yeah. It's wild because it's like so I was looking at some of the writers that are actually on strike that are on Twitter, and
Mhm.
they were saying that so there was some it was rough in the industry before streaming because
Mhm.
like one of the examples was, and I'm paraphrasing what this person was saying, but they were like, you pay for, let's say you sold your show, your idea, or you pitched a pilot,
Mhm. Yeah.
you sold it for $100,000.
Mhm.
So people are thinking like, oh, you're up now. You have $100,000 to produce a show, to do whatever. In actuality, um, some of that money is broken down between, whoever's involved. Like, you have an agent, you have a whatever, right? So that's broken
Yeah.
down. But then on top of that, it's also given to you in segments. Like it's split up,
Mhm.
kind of like a stipend, and it's the amount that you're given though is based on how long it kind of takes to actually get things rolling. So even though
Mhm.
you sold this thing, there's going to be rewrites, there's going to be edits, they want you to tweak it. We think the show would be great if you have this person versus this person, all this other stuff, right? And you have to do rewrites. All this is happening. You might getting a little bit of money, you know what I'm saying, but not a whole lot. And what happens is you end up doing a lot of work for free because your show isn't production hasn't started yet. You just
Yeah.
sold the idea of a show.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so there's
Exactly.
rewrites, there's all these other things, and you might get a little bit of money. And that money won't be enough typically to live off of. They were saying that a lot of times the successful TV writers usually they're doing this while having another job. Like
Yeah.
they're on a show,
Yeah.
or a show's already been going on for a while, and then they write their own show and then pitch that so they can have something they can live off of.
Mhm.
Or you've just been a good writer and like have sold a lot of shows that the amount of money that you sell them for starts out larger, so you get a bigger piece early on. But typically a lot of new writers don't have that, so you're lucky, hey, I got a show sold, but nothing is happening yet. You only get a little bit of money, and when I mean little, I mean like, let's say 13,000 or something. That's not going to last you a whole year. Like that's very little money, especially if you're living in Hollywood to even be able to sell your show.
Yeah. That's
Um,
BS. Like, why can't they get hourly rates? Like, I.
because you're technically not in a writer's room to be paid until the show is like, we're going forward with the show, we're
Mhm.
done with the rewrites, let's get in there and actually start nailing down some things. You're not actually in the writer's room, so they don't pay you hourly, right? But then what's crazy about that is, so that's just normal Hollywood.
Yeah.
when you look at the streaming stuff, they're actually doing it contractually or freelance base now.
God.
And so what that means is that there is no writer's room. There is no hourly pay. Now, granted, that might not be the case of everybody, right? I can't speak on, like, say, the creators of Stranger Things, because it's such a big show that I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they're able to do whatever the heck they want, right?
Yeah.
Or at least get enough money to where they can live off of for however long it takes to do this show. It's one of the most
Yeah.
expensive shows being made. Obviously, they're getting, well, hopefully they're getting paid.
Mhm.
Um, but with streaming, it's very much contractual. So it's like, hey, you are you're freelancing this. You're not actually a full-time employee, or you're not a whatever. There's no writings room to be in. It's all digital for the sake of whatever.
Mhm.
Because of that, you don't get paid hourly. You don't get paid that type of thing. You have to make enough money from this show over time to actually sustain a living. And that's very difficult. So then you think about that, like, that's on the front end. On the back end, you're not even getting the residuals that you normally would get if the show takes off. If the show makes however much money, you're still not getting those residuals. Um, Another wrinkle was the fact that Netflix is starting to do, like a lot of other streaming services, an ad based tier where you pay a little bit less, but there's ads on the platform, right? And the thing with this is, like, the writers don't feel that Netflix is actually going to share any of the ad money. They're saying, like, outside of Netflix's Los Angeles headquarters, writers are in picket lines expressing dismay that the company was beginning to make money off of advertisement. If they make money doing ads, my guess would be that the ads will become a bigger revenue stream for them, um, said one of the writers. And then we're just working for a network television without getting the network pay.
Yeah.
Basically, it turns into a normal, channel on TV
Right.
that gets money from ads and everything, but you're not getting any of that type of money because you don't get the residual stuff on the back end. So the front and back end are screwed. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of it is moving towards streaming. It's not like there are some, shows that are still big on television.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is moving away from cable, is moving towards these streaming platforms,
Yeah.
where a show is shown on, like, the Last of Us for HBO. It's on
Mhm.
TV and on the app at the exact same time because everything is moving towards that.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
think for the platform holder, it's like, oh, I get to get the same amount of work for less money. For the writers, it's rough. It's tougher to get these things out.
Mhm.
That says nothing about trying to be creative and trying to sell something that may or may not work. Like, there's less risk taking as well. So all these things factor in. And this is just like the top of what's happening, right?
Mhm.
How are you supposed to sustain any type of anything with stuff like this? And this is across the board with, like, all the writers. So film, television, whatever the case may be, nothing's happening right now. Nothing is moving. And yeah, I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all,
Yeah,
because that's
this
rough.
is it's rough, and it's ridiculous because no. I'm like, I'm upset. I'm not just like tired. I am upset that television has been existing for as long as it's existing, and this is a problem that we're facing in 2023. Like,
Yeah,
pay people
yeah,
and stop. I mean, the only reason why this is happening, it's not even like it's just muddy. It's not like this simply because, oh, well, because of contracts and because of this. And no, it's muddy because y'all made it this way. Like, it's muddy because you knew you could get
right.
free labor out of people off of some technicalities or off of some, nuance or off of some nonsense because you're exploiting poor people because they
Right.
want to live their dreams.
It's under the guise of that this is new. Like, this has never been done before. And so we don't have the regulations or the whatever. Uh, and so there's new rules. It's kind of like, you think of music streaming, where originally, like, you sold an album, that was
Mm-hmm.
a sell of an album. But in
Mm-hmm.
order to sell an album through streamed content, or music, you have to have so many listens. Like, it's an
Yeah.
arbitrary number of listens, and it's like, who
Mm-hmm.
makes that number? you know
Right.
and so because of that, the rules are kind of made as you go, and the people who are the creative aspect of it kind of get the short end of the stick, because they're not putting up the money, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it's like they're the talent, so it's like you got to pay them. And so it's
Right.
very difficult. And I mean, this is happening. We've seen this with, voice actors not getting enough. We've seen
Mhm.
this from, on the side of, and that's in games and like media. We've seen this
Mhm.
with animators not being paid enough. We've
Mhm.
seen, actors outside of like the big whatever. Women, like I remember that was the big thing with Sony back in the day, where they revealed through the hacks or whatever, they revealed that certain actresses weren't getting paid as the same amount as their male counterparts, even though they were been working longer than the other person, right? Um, just a lot of
Yeah.
shady stuff happening and trying to maneuver in a way that you still get what you deserve, which no one does. I don't think they really do get the amount of money that they should be getting, because
Yeah.
without these shows, without The Last of Us, without you know um, The Sopranos, without The Wire, without these shows, you wouldn't have an HBO.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have the movies, but the HBO has been, in the past however many years, has been built up on its prestige television shows,
Yeah. They've got the
and
shows.
you know what I mean.
They've,
And it's
they've got it. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm with them, and I hope they get whatever it is they want. I know that it
Yeah.
has to be a negotiation, so then it's not going to be 100% of whatever they should get, but at the
Mhm.
very least, come to terms and since they were like, okay, we're cool with working again, not because I want to see more seasons of Out Elementary, but just because I want them to actually get paid. Also,
Yeah.
people, everyone who's really not bright, stop blaming Quinta. I don't know if you've been on like Twitter where
I'm.
there's been people who are like, because Quinta created the show,
Mhm.
and they're like, why aren't you, paying these people how much they should be paid and all this other stuff. And she was like, I'm a writer on the show.
Yeah.
Like,
Like.
I'm not getting paid as much. Like, I should be getting paid more as well. Like, this isn't, I'm not
Yeah.
in control of this. I sold this idea to this network.
Yeah.
We get paid based off of that. And so I'm part of the writing process. I'm actually a writer on the show.
Yeah.
I'm not withholding money. Like, but
Yeah.
people just didn't understand. And I get like not, I guess,
Because
being
people
ignorant
don't
to that
know.
fact.
Yeah.
Right. But to like attack folks, like, come
Yeah.
on, you gotta do some Googles before you attack
Something.
people.
Yeah. I
You
think
know what I'm
most
saying?
people
And that's
don't
not
know.
even like taking into account this whole idea of like AI, like writing stuff for people.
Yeah, I'm actually about to start using ChatGPT to write all of my everything. Thank you letters, because apparently I don't do those for job interviews. And I'm just going to have ChatGPT write my resume.
Wait. Did someone ask you for a thank you letter? Like that was a
I,
thing?
they didn't. So someone just said to me, we were talking and they were wondering why I wasn't getting hired. And then they said, "Did you send a thank you letter?" And I was like, first of all, I've only had one interview, but I was like, "Did you send a thank you letter?" And I was like, well, I mean, I was gonna send an email. I mean, I did send an email saying thank you, but
Right.
I didn't send a physical thank you letter. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, are we still doing
Why?
this?
I have never sent a thank you letter. Like, are you not hiring? Like, is
Yeah,
that
that's what okay. Because again, I'm not trying to be a bitch. I'm also not trying to be like like I'm not also trying to be so throwaway like this is a really low paying, silly, low paying glorified retail job. And I shouldn't send a thank you letter. No, it's what I'm saying. I'm like, are we actually still doing some of the ceremonious kind of
yeah.
nonsense? Because outside of the fact that it's wasting a tree, it is a glorified retail job, and I really didn't think it was that serious. Like,
It's
I sent
never.
an email, you know,
Which is how
that
we corresponded. It wasn't
yeah,
like you mailed me a letter saying we would like to interview you.
yeah. Like
And I'm like,
I said thank you repeatedly after we finished our conversation. It was a phone call. It wasn't even an in person like that. I mean, sorry, I did have an in person, but like, I'm sorry. It's
that,
just, because when people are like, you should thank them for their time. And I'm like,
They don't
Nobody
thank
sent
us for
me
our time.
yeah, I was like, I'm like, I'm again, I'm not trying to be rude, I'm not trying to be a bitch. I'm trying to be a little bit uh understanding of everything because
Right.
I'm not getting a thank you letter, I'm getting a rejection letter, which is something I'm expecting. I'm either expecting to get a hiring letter or a rejection letter, right?
Right.
And I don't understand why me sending a thank you letter is the linchpin, is the
The reason
nail,
for not getting
is the
hired.
reason for not getting hired. And I've heard that before. They're like, oh, this person didn't send me a thank you letter, I immediately crossed them off the list. And I'm like, I didn't realize that that was the thing. And I mean, I've sent thank you letters in the past because years ago when I was young and I was in my 20s and I did interviews, I sent thank you letters because I remember being a young person and like, being literally 21 and out of college and people saying, "Oh, you have to send thank you letters." And so I did. I remember, and back then we still used the mail, and I went and bought a pack of thank you letters, and I sent a thank you letter if I had an interview. I remember doing that, but it never got me anywhere. It didn't.
Yeah.
And I know that I think what people are trying to say is like you shouldn't send a thank you letter with the idea that that's what's going to get you the job. And I'm like, but I'm literally being told by somebody that says if I don't send a thank you letter, then I'm not getting the job.
It
And
makes no sense.
I just feel like I don't think that we should be reducing a candidate down to whether they sent a thank you letter or not. I can understand if it's extremely close and you've got two people who are just amazing and then basically you have to split hairs. I get that if you're splitting hairs, you're like they
Right.
are both perfect, can't figure out I'm just gonna do eeny, meeny, money, mo, and then one sent a thank you letter and one didn't. Okay, I get it. But I don't feel like that's what we're doing here. You know what I do for a
No,
living.
no,
Like
no,
it's
no.
glorified reads. So
I mean,
I
even if it wasn't, it seems weird because none of that, the like having to take time out to go to the interview, wait for them to get back to you, you know, like all the rigmarole that comes with it. None of that is like thank you for your time. We don't get any of that because we're the person seeking the job, so we don't. It
yeah,
doesn't matter, right?
yeah.
And especially depending on the career, where they'll tell
Mhm.
you to, like for instance, certain writing gigs will tell you to write up a mock article or whatever to prove that you can do the thing that you say you do,
Right,
right?
right.
But don't pay you.
Yeah,
Like, you
exactly.
know what I'm saying? Like it's wild that, and then to turn around and, and feel like you deserve a thank you. Like
Yeah,
I'd rather you just don't hire him or don't like
yeah,
reach back to like actually do the interview. Just be like, nah, we good. Like for me to go through all this mess and you still don't hire me, fam,
yeah,
that is quite all right.
yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
it's silly.
yeah.
It's really silly how, I don't know, entitled people are weird.
Okay, and so that's kind of again where I feel a little bit sometimes in this because again I'm 41 almost. Okay, like I'm not a spring chicken, and so I'm it's again I'm not saving lives. I don't want to I'm not dampening my current job role or whatever, but I'm not a brain surgeon.
Right.
And so sometimes I just feel like some people are asking for a lot in
For
something
very
that's
little.
so for very
Yeah.
little. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't cost me anything to be friendly and to be nice and to do the job that I do and to be welcoming and to be warming and to enjoy making people feel at home and be kind to them. I don't think that there's anything like it doesn't cost me much except sometimes when I'm feeling very drained. but
Right.
but I don't understand. I don't know if the politicky about it or whatnot, or doing a job that is somewhat basic um, would require, I don't know, so much formality to.
it's a weird, like uh elitist type thing.
Yeah, it does
And
feel
granted,
that.
this will sound funny to anybody who's older, over a certain age, because you just have to do certain things a certain way.
Mhm.
That's just how they've been, you know, tailored to operate. Like this is how you
Yeah.
do things. That's not
Mhm.
necessarily the case. Um, but that's a tangent. We totally got off
Total
track
total tangents. We love tangents.
about folks and work. But ideally, yes, you want everyone to get paid.
Yeah.
You don't want anybody's time to be wasted. You don't want to lash out at the wrong folks, if you aren't getting paid. Um, and people seem to be doing that online. Like I was saying with Quinta, there's also people who are looking to be like, pick me in terms of the strike going on,
Mhm.
and wanting to get a job, thinking that they'll be able to land a job really easy because no one's writing. You might. They're not going to pay you well. They're going to pay you
No.
worse than what they were paying the people before. And then when
Yeah.
they do come to terms with the negotiation, you're not going to be part of the guild because the guild will remember what you
You
did.
didn't stand with us.
Right. It's because it hurts everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, a shout out to the CEO. I believe this was of Discovery, who was like, the writers will come back because they like writing. Yeah. No, you can write by
That's
yourself. You can work somewhere else and write. You don't have to
yeah.
like work for free. That's not. It's an interesting thing. And he said it publicly. He was like, "Yeah, they be all right. That's essentially what he said.
This is why people literally make shows on YouTube because y'all are doing this kind of
Yeah,
nonsense.
yep. Why not? Like, do it for yourself. The same thing I tell like newer writers coming in, like to not take the worst job just to get a
Mhm.
byline somewhere. Put up a blog and write. Read some good writing. Practice writing and do a bunch of that. And you can actually use that. You can use that to actually land a job somewhere because you've proven that you can write. It doesn't really matter. The bylines do help you, mind you,
Mhm.
over time. But if you can't write, it doesn't matter. So right there, it's better to do, if you're going to do something for free, at least you own it.
Yeah.
Like you can do whatever you
Sure.
want. And when you finally do monetize, it's all yours versus writing for someone for free. And, you get taken advantage of.
Mhm.
That's not, what you want to do with your time.
Yeah.
So yeah. But anywho, um, that has been our show. We've been for this week. Not a big thing. Whole lot of things going on. Just wanted to
Yeah.
kind of catch up a little bit and talk about some things that I wanted to mention for a little bit.
Mhm.
Also, um, before we go though, I did want to ask you: did you hear about Jamie Foxx recently being in the hospital?
I did, and I don't know if I'm doing one of those things where I'm trying to like not go down too far, like pretend. I don't want to say pretending like it hasn't happened
Right. Right.
so that it's not real, but
Yeah.
like I remember, so when the first news broke that he had a medical emergency, yes, I was like, and then I think I was already in a mood, and I was like, okay, I need to shake myself out of this because I'm going to go down the conspiracy theory route, and I don't want to go that route because I can and I will, and then we'll be here for another hour.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I did, and and I remember every now and again I would Google and see, and there was like no news, no news,
Mm,
and then now Twitter is going crazy, and all these other sites are going crazy saying what they're saying, but then like bigger places like USA Today will be like, hey, no information has been released. His family has not said anything.
right.
So I, because none of us even know what happened.
Yeah. He was filming. I want to say a show, had some type of event, had to be taken to the hospital. His daughter said, to basically there was a medical emergency. She didn't state what it was,
Hmm.
and that we just kind of want privacy. But then I want to say a little bit after that, they were like, he might be able to come home. He's doing better. I think a
Yeah.
couple of celebrities actually reached out to him, and then just recently, there was news that apparently he had to go back to the hospital. So, something else came up. And so, but again, no one's saying anything. And that's not for us to know anyways,
Right.
similar to, anyone who's,
Yeah.
people kind of get in the mindset that we have to know, whereas someone in the limelight will say, or their family member will be like, well, this person has this or that.
Yeah.
That's them. I don't want to say be kind, but that's them
Hmm.
sharing what they want to share. So, no one's demanding anything or anything like that,
Hmm.
but we are concerned that, he is in the hospital and seemingly, touch and go. There was a
Yeah.
source saying that he is, the family's preparing for the worst potentially.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, dang, like what, like in the span of a week, what happened, what I'm saying? Because it wasn't like, at least in a sense with Chadwick, it was like we hadn't seen him for a while, and then he kind of popped up with that when he was doing the promoting the charity, and then went
Hmm.
away again, and so we hadn't seen or heard anything.
Hmm.
Whereas Jamie has been on television, he's been here and there. I believe they were promoting or getting ready to promote uh the new movie
Strays.
coming to Netflix. You know what I'm saying? And so like it was like dog, like we kind of seen him up and about. What happened?
Hmm.
All of a sudden. So hopefully things will work out for him, and praying for his family and friends, and everything goes well, and he'll be back on his feet, and he'll be good to go. But I was just wondering because I know like haven't spoken too much about industry stuff in a while. If you had
Hmm.
heard about what was going on with that,
Yeah. I've been seeing stuff on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's where I get my news.
right?
And but I don't see everything on Twitter. I mean, honestly, my Twitter feed was Jamie Foxx and how Prince William's mistress wore the same shoes as his wife.
Interesting. That's
But yeah,
interesting.
so like, and I was just like, but yeah, so I I heard, and I don't know, I like shake myself out of it because I'm like, because I don't like, and I'm like, okay, like he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
He's gonna be
definitely
fine.
rooting for him. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, shout out to everybody who hung out with us,
hmm.
listening to the show. Um, we didn't get a chance to talk about the gala that we went to. We did go. We were
We
there.
did.
I, I posted a picture of us and everything.
Yes.
The digital us, not the physical
I
us.
mean, it's fine.
Um, and it was fun. It was a fun thing. I hope they do it again.
Yes.
Next year, and we got to support a dope charity. This is from Able Gamers, the gala that we talked about on the previous episode, and a lot of fun. We'll get to the nuts and potatoes or whatever, however you say that, bits and pieces. I don't know. We'll get to that on the next podcast. We didn't
Hmm.
get a chance to talk about it tonight, but again, thanks for hanging
We
out
will.
with us. If you're listening on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, so you're up on all the new content that's coming from us. If you're listening on other DSPs, whether it be Amazon, iTunes, Google, Deezer, add us to your RSS feed or subscribe. So again, you're up on all the cool stuff, and follow us on Twitter at the Gamecast1. Do that because
Yes.
yeah, we post there as well. It just makes sense to do that, I guess. um, but yeah, we had a good time hanging out
Hmm.
with you tonight, and again, we will hopefully be back next week, if not the week after. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. Yeah.
That's it for me too, y'all. Wear your masks. I mean, I haven't been wearing mine, but that's, and I have no real excuse except that nobody else is wearing them at work, and so I'm just kind of like, okay, fine. I'll
That's
look like the weird
understandable.
person. And yeah, I've also been coughing and sneezing, so clearly something it's the allergies.
Yes.
No, but it's not like I've been coughing and sneezing like for real, for real. It was just today. It was just at 5:30. It hasn't happened anyway. Besides the point, but yeah, do that. COVID still a thing. Wear your mask. Wash your hands, please, please, please. People, wash your hands, wash your faces, wash your butts, and that's really it, y'all. We'll see you next time. Bye.